Welcome back.
We survived.
We did. We love you. We see you. And honestly, every single time we watch this show, I am just like violently reminded that our family group chat really isn't that dysfunctional after all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the baseline for a successful family dinner in our world is just, nobody bringing up politics.
Right.
But in Westeros, a successful family dinner is literally one where nobody gets poisoned, beheaded, or, I don't know, fed to a scaly apex predator. It genuinely puts things in perspective.
It really does. Which is why, Snark Squad, I really hope you have your glasses ready, because we have the smoked old fashions on deck tonight.
Oh, thank God.
Right. I had to smoke the glass twice just to, calm my nerves after watching the absolute collapse of chivalry in the Riverlands this week. Tonight requires hard liquor worthy of Westeros.
Cheers to that, honestly. And cheers to surviving another week without getting conscripted into a medieval civil war.
Cheers.
Let's take a sip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is smoky.
That is exactly what I needed. Because, okay, I've been spiraling about this all day. We've lived in major cities.
Right. Toronto, Chicago, Houston.
Exactly. We've done the horrible winters in Chicago, that absolute stifling humidity in Houston, the complete gridlock chaos of downtown Toronto traffic. So we think we're tough.
We think we have street smarts.
Right. But if we actually got dropped into Westeros, how utterly, hopelessly unprepared would we be?
Oh, we would be the first ones to go.
You think?
Completely wiped out. We wouldn't even be a footnote in the Citadel's history books, just two snarky peasants who complained about the draft and were immediately trampled by a horse.
Oh my God, no.
No, I mean, let's be analytical about this. In Chicago, if you have a problem with your neighbor's fence, you might leave a passive-aggressive note, right? Or call the zoning board.
Yeah.
In Westeros, they just declare a blood feud that involves burning down entire farming communities for 6 generations.
See, but I feel like I could adapt.
You couldn't.
I could. Look, if I had to swear loyalty to a house, I think I'd lean toward whoever has the most peaceful vibes and the best aesthetics.
The aesthetics.
Yes.
Right.
Like the Tyrells in Highgarden. Give me flowers. Give me artisanal cheeses. Give me a nice velvet trim on my sleeves. I just want to sit in a botanical garden and gossip. I do not want to conquer anything.
See, that mindset right there is exactly why you wouldn't survive the first frost.
Why?
Because you're prioritizing aesthetics over logistics. Babes, if you're dropping me in Westeros, I am looking straight at the supply chains and the infrastructure.
Oh, you're so boring.
I'm swearing loyalty to the Lannisters or the Hightowers. Do I like them morally? Absolutely not. But do they have a functioning banking system?
I mean, yes.
Do they have massive grain reserves and actual paved roads? Yes. You cannot eat a velvet cloak when winter lasts for 7 years. I want a 401k, a moat, and a robust agricultural surplus.
Okay, fine, but what about dragons?
Oh, here we go.
If you had a dragon, you wouldn't even need an agricultural surplus. You just point to, say, Dracaries, and you get literally whatever you want. I would want a dragon so badly.
I really wouldn't.
I would. They're like massive magical besties. You bond with them, you fly above the clouds, you escape all the petty political drama on the ground.
Okay, I know half the Snark Squad listening right now is nodding along with you, thinking a dragon solves all your problems, but let's look at the actual logistics here.
You ruin everything with logistics.
A dragon is a nightmare. Think about the overhead costs. Think about the cleanup. A fully grown dragon eats 50 to 100 sheep a day.
That's a lot of sheep.
Right. Who is paying for those sheep? Who is shoveling the literal mountain of guano out of the dragon pit? It is not a magical bestie. It is a living, breathing liability suit waiting to happen.
Okay, fine.
You have to maintain an entire staff of keepers just so your mount doesn't accidentally eat the local peasantry.
Fine, you're ruining my fantasy of flying off into the sunset. If not a dragon, what about a castle? I want the Eyrie.
The Eyrie?
Yes. I want to live way up in the clouds. I want that clean, crisp mountain air and the absolute unbothered isolation of the Vale.
You mean the castle where you have to take a terrifying, creaking wooden bucket elevator up a sheer cliff face just to get home with your groceries?
Well, I wouldn't be doing the groceries.
Absolutely not. Plus, the drafts. Stone castles somehow always look freezing, no matter how many tapestries you hang.
That's true. They do look damp.
You're sleeping in a cavernous stone room with one pathetic fireplace that barely warms a 5-foot radius. The dampness alone would destroy my joints.
So what's your plan then?
If I'm going back in time, the one modern convenience I am absolutely smuggling in my time machine is a high-powered electric space heater.
Oh, that's incredibly practical. See, I was going to say dry shampoo.
Dry shampoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, let's be real, nobody in Westeros is washing their hair more than once a month.
Fair point.
Right. They have to heat cauldrons of water over an open fire just to take a bath. I completely refuse to participate in that level of grease. A can of dry shampoo would make me a literal goddess to those people.
See, this is the reality check we all need. We idolize this era because of the swords and the romance, but the medieval problems we would never survive are just staggering.
It's chafing.
Yes!
Yeah.
Think about wearing heavy armor for hours. I complain when the tag on my t-shirt is slightly scratchy. Imagine wearing 50 pounds of unyielding steel while riding a horse for 3 weeks straight through a swamp.
Without a single coffee shop.
None.
No drive-thrus. No food delivery apps. You're just riding a horse through the mud, eating salted beef that basically has the texture and flavor of a leather shoe, hoping you don't get dysentery before you reach the next inn.
And my ultimate gripe, the thing that would absolutely get me executed on day one, is the lack of modern conflict resolution.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Why does everyone in this realm solve minor, easily addressable disagreements by declaring full-scale war?
They're so dramatic.
Rhaenyra and Alicent could have avoided 99% of this bloodshed if they had just sat down with a neutral mediator, a whiteboard, and a 5-minute communication seminar.
Literally. I fiercely believe that peace and reconciliation are still possible if people just hugged it out.
A hug is not going to fix this, babes.
If they just sat down, made eye contact, acknowledged each other's trauma, and validated their feelings.
Right, but instead they're like, well, there was a misunderstanding about a prophecy. Guess we have to burn down the Riverlands.
Just send a raven to clarify.
Or an email.
But babes, enough about our imaginary lives in Westeros. Let's actually get into the drama where every family dinner somehow ends with another person wanting the throne.
And a hug is basically a prelude to a stabbing. Let's unpack the absolute chaos of this week, starting with the Riverlands. Because speaking of people who desperately need a reality check regarding how the world actually works.
Oh my God, Criston Cole.
We need to talk about the Butcher's Ball.
Yes, we do.
We need to talk about the fact that Criston Cole, the Kingmaker himself, just got permanently canceled.
Let's dive deep into this man's final moments because I was screaming at my TV. He marches his remaining green soldiers right into the most obvious ambush I've ever seen in my life.
It was embarrassing.
They walk into this foggy, miserable battlefield, and it's just littered with corpses. I'm yelling, they aren't dead, it's a trap. And sure enough, the Rivermen and the Winter Wolves just rise up out of the mud.
It was a tactical disaster born of pure arrogance. And I mean, let's provide some context for the listener on who exactly these forces are, because it makes Criston's failure even more profound.
Please, because they look terrifying.
The men playing dead are the Winter Wolves. These are fierce, grizzled northern infantrymen led by Roddy the Ruin. In northern culture, when winter comes, the older men march south to fight and die so there are fewer mouths to feed back home.
That is so dark.
They literally have nothing to lose. They want to die in battle. And Criston walks his exhausted, demoralized southern army right into their jaws.
Which is terrifying. But what absolutely gutted me, and I know he is toxic, I know he has ruined so many lives.
So many.
But his reaction when he realizes he's surrounded, he tries to do the noble, dramatic single combat thing. He pulls out his sword. He wraps Alicent's favor around the hilt.
Ugh, the favor.
And it was such a moment of romantic tragedy. He's looking at this little piece of cloth, remembering the queen he loved, preparing to die a hero's death to save his men.
Save his men!
He wanted the bards to write songs about his glorious slow-motion final stand.
Which is exactly his problem. Criston Cole has spent his entire life trying to reframe his personal failings as righteous chivalry.
Well, yeah.
He broke his Kingsguard vows with Rhaenyra, and to cope with that immense guilt, he leaned incredibly hard into the aesthetic of the perfect, honorable knight protecting Queen Alicent. He thinks he's the main character in a song.
He really does.
So he stands there, completely surrounded by Roddy the Ruin and Oscar Tully asking for a duel, and then Black Alley Blackwood, who commands the fierce matriarchal archers of the Riverlands, she just unceremoniously shoots him 3 times.
One right in the face.
Exactly. No monologue, no dramatic crossing of swords, no listening to the villain's final speech, just thwack, thwack, thwack.
I was so shocked.
Honestly, I applauded. I stood up in my living room and I clapped. Finally, someone in this universe who just gets the job done efficiently.
You are so cold.
Black Alley represents the blunt, unromantic reality of war that shatters Criston's chivalric delusion. She doesn't care about his honor or his little piece of cloth. She cares about neutralizing the enemy commander as quickly as possible.
But I was mourning the lack of dramatic flair. It was such an anticlimax. After 2.5 seasons of hating this man, of watching him scheme and manipulate and install Aegon on the throne, he doesn't even get to speak his final words.
We have to connect this to the philosophy he's been preaching, though. Think back to just 2 weeks ago. Cole was giving that speech about how dragons rule the sky now, and traditional armies are just cannon fodder.
Right.
And how does he die? Not in a blaze of dragonfire, not in an epic clash of titans. He gets put down like a rabid dog by foot soldiers. The exact mud-covered cannon fodder he dismissed as irrelevant. The irony is structurally perfect. The Kingmaker is unmade by the lowest soldiers on the board.
It is deeply ironic.
Yeah.
And it's so sad, too, because he died thinking of Alicent, and Alicent's back in King's Landing, barely giving you a passing thought because she's too busy surviving her own waking nightmare.
Oh, King's Landing is a mess right now.
But Criston's failure in the field is almost mirrored by what's happening in the capital. While Criston relied on outdated notions of chivalry, Rhaenyra is making a similar mistake. She's relying on the historical reverence for the Iron Throne instead of addressing the very modern problem of a starving populace.
Rhaenyra's public relations strategy is like a masterclass in what not to do when you take over a hostile corporation, or in this case, a starving, volatile capital city.
It broke my heart to watch. The small folk are starving. Tallow is scarce. They're literally yelling at her, "We cannot light our sconces."
Which is an amazing line.
Which, side note, is my new favorite complaint. I am going to start yelling that when my internet goes out or when a barista gets my order wrong, I cannot light my sconces.
Please do.
But in all seriousness, it's dire. They have no resources. A young septa has been kidnapped and is presumed dead because there's no city watch to protect anyone. The social contract is completely broken, and Rhaenyra is sitting on the throne looking completely numb.
She is completely disconnected from the reality of her subjects. A woman is crying about a missing septa, and Rhaenyra's response is, "I'll light a candle for her."
I know, it sounded so hollow.
That is the Westerosi equivalent of a politician tweeting thoughts and prayers after a systemic infrastructure collapse. It means absolutely nothing to a starving, terrified populace. And let's analyze how she tries to handle the PR here. She immediately tries to shift the blame, saying, "Oh, this is Aemond Hightower's fault."
Which is technically true. He is funding the chaos from Tumbleton.
It is technically true, but rule number one of leadership: when you sit in the big chair, you own the problems.
Yeah, that's fair.
The small folk do not care about the macroeconomics of the Hightower supply chain or political machinations in the Reach. They care that they can't walk down the street in Flea Bottom without getting mugged, and that bread costs a week's wages. By pointing fingers at Aemond, Rhaenyra looks weak. She looks like a middle manager complaining about corporate instead of a queen asserting control.
I feel terrible for her impossible situation, though. I want to defend her here.
Go ahead.
She inherited a bankrupt city. Her council is constantly undermining her because she's a woman. Her husband has gone completely rogue. She has the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. She's trying to be the humane, just queen her father, Viserys, wanted her to be. But the system itself is fundamentally broken.
True.
And then the omen. Babes, we have to talk about the omen.
Yo, the cut.
She shifts in her seat and she cuts her hand on the Iron Throne.
That visual was incredible. The subjective sound design, the high-pitched ringing, the way the camera blurred to show her immediate psychological panic.
It was so intense.
The Iron Throne literally drew blood. Let's explain the why behind this, because it's not just a physical injury.
No, it's a massive lore drop. Let's unpack this history, because in Targaryen lore, the Iron Throne is practically a sentient being that judges its occupants.
Right.
Aegon the Conqueror specifically had it forged with thousands of sharp swords so that a ruler could never sit comfortably. A king should never sit easy. But over the centuries, it became a superstitious metric for legitimacy.
Very superstitious.
If the throne cuts you, it means the realm is rejecting you. It means you are unfit to rule. It happened to her dad, Viserys, who literally rotted away from throne cuts over the years. And before that, it happened to Maegor the Cruel, who some historians say was actually murdered by the throne itself. He was found dead with his wrists slashed by the blades.
Exactly. The psychological effect of the divine right of kings in a feudal society cannot be overstated. A literal cut translates into a loss of public mandate. Rhaenyra is a scholar of Valyrian history. She knows exactly what that cut signifies.
You could see it on her face.
You could see the sheer existential dread in Emma Darcy's eyes. And this raises an important question. Is the throne rejecting her because she's a woman, as the Greens have claimed all along? Or is it rejecting her because she's paralyzing herself with indecision and alienating her base?
It's so tragic because she is paralyzing herself. She wants to do the right thing, but doing the right thing in Westeros usually gets you killed.
Always.
Which brings us to the flip side of that coin. If Rhaenyra is paralyzing herself with overthinking, Daemon is doing the exact opposite. He is in full-blown, unregulated motion, and it is a disaster.
Daemon's masculinity is in an absolute crisis right now. His wife is on the throne, he's feeling marginalized, and his response is to try and assert dominance through sheer, unmitigated violence.
It was so hard to watch.
He storms into the small council, and he wants to just burn Tumbleton to the ground. He's bringing up Aegon the Conqueror and the Field of Fire, suggesting they just unleash the dragons on civilian populations. And when Rhaenyra correctly points out that they cannot indiscriminately burn thousands of innocent civilians without turning the entire continent against them, what does he do?
He throws a goblet at Torrhen Manderly's head.
He throws a goblet.
Yes. He screams at him, "I'll hear no more from those whose greatest battle has been with their own indigestion."
I mean, wow.
Which, okay, was an incredible insult, but terribly unprofessional for a board meeting. Daemon is completely unhinged. And then he goes down to the Gold Cloaks barracks and they are resigning en masse.
Because, shocker, people don't want to work a high-risk security job in a starving city if they aren't getting paid.
Rhaenyra hasn't paid them, so Daemon decides to take matters into his own hands. He goes undercover in the streets of Flea Bottom, which I loved. Total callback to Season 1.
Let's focus on the sociology of what happens next rather than his outfit.
I'm just saying, he looked very mysterious in that hood. But fine. He's undercover. He corners a Hightower assassin in an alley, stabs him in the head. Classic Daemon problem solving. But then he walks out and spots Ulf the White.
Oh, this scene.
Ulf is sneaking out to a tavern for hot pies and a pint with the lads because Rhaenyra has essentially grounded the new dragon riders in the Red Keep, and Daemon just snaps. He publicly beats Ulf up in the mud right in front of the small folk.
This is where I have to go on my HR rant, because this is the absolute worst personnel management I have ever seen in my life.
It was so bad.
Let's talk about the political philosophy of a state maintaining a monopoly on violence. The Targaryens rule because they're the only ones with dragons. That is their monopoly on violence. By giving dragons to Ulf and Hugh Hammer, who are commoners, independent contractors, the state has lost that monopoly.
Right.
Ulf and Hugh are now walking weapons of mass destruction. You do not put a WMD on a performance improvement plan by beating him up in an alley.
I wanted to give Ulf a hug. I know half of you listening are probably screaming that Ulf is annoying and undisciplined, but the man just wanted a pint.
He literally just wanted a drink.
He's a local hero in Flea Bottom, the guy who miraculously claimed a dragon, and now the prince consort is literally stomping on his back in the street. He didn't ask for this corporate rigidity.
Exactly. You incentivize these guys. You give them a corner office, a massive expense account, a title, and lands. Daemon and Rhaenyra are treating the dragonseeds like inconvenient, misbehaving peasants, completely forgetting that these guys can literally burn the Red Keep to the ground if they decide they've had enough.
That is so true.
Daemon's psyche is so fragile right now. He needs to be the alpha dragon rider, and the fact that a tavern drunk like Ulf can ride a beast like Silverwing shatters his belief in Targaryen exceptionalism. So he beats him up to feel powerful. It's shockingly arrogant and strategically catastrophic.
It really is. They are alienating the only real military advantage they have. Though, speaking of the dragons themselves, can we just take a moment to appreciate the beautiful, quiet shot of Vermithor and Silverwing in this sequence?
It was stunning.
While the humans are down in the mud beating each other up, we see Hugh and Ulf's dragons out in the dragon pit, and they're just nuzzling each other. It was so sweet and tender.
It's a fantastic piece of lore. Vermithor and Silverwing are a mated pair. Their original riders were King Jaehaerys and Good Queen Alicent, who were married and oversaw the golden age of Westeros.
I love that.
Dragons form deep, empathetic bonds, just like their riders. It's fascinating how the show takes a moment to remind us of the majesty, history, and profound connection of these creatures right before plunging us back into the petty, destructive squabbles of the humans who claim to own them.
Petty is the exact word, which is the perfect transition to talk about Tumbleton. Because, babes, the drama in this town is giving me absolute life.
It's so messy.
Let's start with Hugh Hammer and his wife, Kat. Hugh sneaks into Tumbleton, disguised as a merchant, because he's desperate to save her. He navigates this besieged city, he finally finds her, and I was fully prepared for this tearful, romantic, sweeping reunion. I had the tissues ready.
And instead, she absolutely verbally destroys him.
I was in tears over this broken marriage. She completely rejects him. He's telling her, I'm a dragon rider now, we can be lords, we can have a castle, I did this for us. And she's just looking at him with pure disgust.
She was not having.
She said, I thought you were dead. I don't care to be a lady, and I don't want to be a widow. She blames him for abandoning her to chase glory while their daughter died. It was devastating. He risked everything to come get her, and she basically told him to kick rocks.
Now, I know you were looking at this through the lens of emotional trauma, but let's connect this to the socioeconomic reality of their situation.
Here we go with the logistics again.
Cat is being deeply unreasonable here. I understand being hurt that he left without communicating the full plan, but let's look at the facts. They were starving in King's Landing. Their daughter died because of the Velaryon blockades and the lack of medicine. Hugh literally secured the bag.
He did.
He won the Westerosi lottery by claiming Vermithor. A rational person would say, I am furious with you, we have debt trust issues, we need couples counseling, but yes, get me the hell out of this war zone and into a secure castle. Instead, she storms off into a city that is actively under siege. It felt contrived.
I completely disagree. You are looking at this like a spreadsheet. I want to defend Cat with a class analysis here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Cat represents the grounded reality of the small folk. She knows that upward mobility in a feudal system is a trap. Whenever commoners try to play the Game of Thrones, they get crushed. She associates his new power with the destruction of their family. To her, that dragon isn't a ticket out, it's the machine that kills commoners. She doesn't trust the lords, and now her husband has become one. It's a profound statement on class struggle.
That's a fair sociological read, but from a pure survival standpoint, turning down a ride on a dragon when the Hightower army is at the gates is just poor decision-making.
I still feel for her.
But speaking of the Hightowers, we need to discuss the man funding all this misery, Ormond Hightower.
Oh, the snobbery is off the charts. He is unbearable.
He is sitting in a commandeered manse in Tumbleton, being incredibly snobby and openly homophobic to his own nephew, Gwaine Hightower. Gwaine arrives from the Riverlands completely exhausted, having just survived the butcher's ball and the death of Criston Cole.
Gwaine.
And Ormond is literally sitting at a dining table sniffing a pomander, a little ball of perfume, because he can't handle Gwaine's travel stench.
The performative disgust is hilarious. Ormond is this pristine, fastidious guy orchestrating terror and starvation in King's Landing from miles away, but he can't handle the smell of a soldier who actually fights in his wars. He's lecturing everyone with this faux intellectual arrogance, telling Darren that ambitious commoners can't be trusted. But his complete lack of situational awareness almost gets him assassinated right then and there.
Yes. Let's look at the mechanics of this assassination attempt, because it proves a vital point about leadership. Rhaenyra actually makes a ruthless, covert move and sends assassins dressed as Baratheon envoys. They march right into Ormond's dining room.
Right in.
And it is Gwaine, stinky, exhausted, trauma-dumping Gwaine, who saves the day. Because Gwaine actually spends time with soldiers, he clocks that these guys are fakes.
His situational awareness here is incredible.
Yeah.
He notices they have the wrong hair color, giving Major Robert Baratheon black of hair vibes.
Yeah.
And he literally says they aren't comely enough to be Baratheon men.
Which is such a funny observation.
It's a hilarious metric for identifying assassins. But he sees it, Bold John Roxton sees it, and they just start slicing people up right in the middle of the charcuterie board.
And Ormond, the great mastermind, the man pulling the strings of the realm, literally throws up his lunch in the corner because he can't handle the sight and smell of human innards.
So weak.
It perfectly illustrates the difference between administrative power and kinetic power. Ormond is incredibly dangerous behind a desk, manipulating economies and supply lines. But in a physical crisis, he is completely useless. It's a great contrast to Gwaine, who actually understands the trenches.
But if we want to talk about people who are dangerous in any situation, whether administrative, physical, or magical, we have to talk about Harrenhal. Because Aemond and Alice Rivers are building something terrifying.
This dynamic is fascinating. Aemond is fully healed from his injuries, and strategically, he needs to leave Harrenhal immediately to find Vhagar and secure his military position.
Right.
But Alice wants him to stay. She's working him psychologically like it's her full-time job.
She's a gothic mastermind, babes. She murders a stable boy just to keep Haemon's presence a secret.
Without even blinking.
She just casually slits a kid's throat, wipes the blood off, and uses it to set the mood for their date. It is deeply disturbing, but I am also captivated by how flawlessly she manipulates him.
Let's analyze how she's doing it. She knows Aemond is a second son who feels unappreciated, so she pitches him on an entirely new paradigm. She tells him she's tired of the desolate existence at Harrenhal, a castle famously cursed since Aegon the Conqueror melted it with Balerion the Black Dread.
Yeah.
She wants to be the Lady of the Water with Aemond as her dragon lord by her side. She is effectively proposing they secede from the Iron Throne and start a new magical dynasty. And to seal the deal, she opens a heavy wooden chest and reveals 5 warm dragon eggs.
I screamed 5 eggs. Let's explain the lore here, because this blew my mind. These are eggs laid a century ago by the dragon Dreamfire, right?
Exactly. Decades ago, Queen Rhaena Targaryen, not Daemon's daughter, but the ancient historical figure, retreated to Harrenhal with Dreamfire to mourn her husband, Aegon the Uncrowned. During that time, Dreamfire laid a clutch of eggs in the depths of the castle.
And they've just been there.
They've been sitting there, cold and petrified for decades. But when Aemon touches one with his bloody hand, it's warm. Because Targaryen blood magic is a real, tangible force in this world.
Okay, here's where my mind goes immediately. Are these Daenerys' future eggs?
Oh, here we go.
I know in the books they say Alyssa Farman stole Dreamfire eggs and sold them in Brados, but the show loves changing things. Could Alice and Aemon be the spooky, toxic great-great-great-grandparents of Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion? I love the dark romance of it all. It is so gothic. They kiss, and I was like, yes, build your weird haunted dynasty in the ruins.
Now, I know you love the aesthetic of a haunted romance, but you are falling for the trap. I am terrified of this power couple from a geopolitical standpoint.
But they're so cool.
Aemond is already a loose cannon. He is a trained killer with the largest dragon in the known world. Now you're pairing him with a blood magic witch who has 5 dragon eggs, prophetic visions, and 0 moral compass. They are a massive threat to both the blacks and the greens. They aren't just going rogue, they are establishing a third, highly volatile faction right in the middle of the continent.
Speaking of going rogue and massive threats, let's talk about the absolute messiest ultimatum in Westeros history. We have to go back to King's Landing because Rhaenyra is making moves that are, frankly, villainous.
The tactical incompetence leading up to this scene is staggering. Alicent and Helaena get caught by the City Watch in the tunnels underneath the Red Keep because, get this, their lantern went out.
I know.
And instead of feeling their way along the wall or continuing to walk, they just sat down in the dark and waited to be arrested.
The survival instincts are at absolute 0. But we have to forgive Helaena. She operates on a different astral plane. She is pregnant with Aegon's baby, and she's sitting in her room weaving these incredible tapestries of the future. She literally wove a picture of Harrenhal so she knows Aemond is there.
Right.
Alicent, desperate to save her daughter, offers this information to Rhaenyra, begging for mercy. And Rhaenyra goes ice cold.
Rhaenyra gives her an impossible choice. She says, you want freedom for you and your daughter? Fine. Go to Harrenhal and assassinate your own son, Aemond.
I was absolutely gutted. Their friendship, the core emotional tragedy of this entire series, is truly completely dead. Rhaenyra is looking at the woman she grew up with, the woman who took care of her father as he rotted away, and telling her to become a kinslayer, to murder her own child. It is so incredibly dark. I was just weeping into my old-fashioned. It feels like Rhaenyra is fully embracing the cruelty of her ancestors.
While you were weeping over their lost friendship, I was laughing at the sheer logistical stupidity of this plan.
It's not stupid.
Let's analyze this from a tactical standpoint, because it is absurd. Rhaenyra wants Aemond dead. Understandable.
No.
So, what is her brilliant strategy? She is sending Alicent, a highly recognizable, emotionally compromised former queen with 0 combat training, to infiltrate a heavily fortified haunted castle and assassinate the deadliest warrior in the realm.
Well, when you put it like that...
Aemond is a trained killer. He has a magical witch girlfriend who can see the future. He has a giant dragon. What exactly is Alicent going to do? Hit him with a silver platter, poison his tea. It is the dumbest plan Rhaenyra has had yet.
It's symbolic. I have to push back on you here. You're looking at it too literally. Rhaenyra doesn't actually think Alicent's going to pull off a John Wick assassination. She wants Alicent to prove her loyalty by making the attempt. She wants to psychologically break her. It's a test of absolute submission.
If it's a test, it's a waste of a high-value hostage. Alicent is leverage. You don't send your leverage on a suicide mission just to make a psychological point. But Rhaenyra's strategic failures are becoming a recurring theme. Which leads us to the final twists of the week. Let's run through them. First, Aegon out in the woods near Rook's Rest.
Yes. Aegon, Lair Strong, and Tyland Lannister are burying the guy Aegon killed last week. And Aegon asks Kylan flat out, "Do you think I'm a terrible man?"
Such a great moment.
And Tyland just stammers. He literally cannot think of a single nice thing to say about his king. He's sweating, he's stammering. Well, there is much to admire and much to be deplored.
Let's look at why Tyland reacts this way. Tyland is a pragmatic Lannister. He respects Aegon's bluntness in this moment, but he is terrified of the volatility. And Aegon accepts the criticism.
He really does.
He chuckles. He realizes that Larys was right about him, he is not suited for this, and nobody actually respects him. So he agrees to stick with the plan and flee across the narrow sea to Essos. Honestly, maximum respect for this self-awareness.
I agree.
Aegon is a terrible person, but recognizing that your current situation is untenable and choosing to tap out and go chill in Pentos, that is the smartest geopolitical decision he has made in his entire life.
He is opting out of the narrative. I love it. Good for him. Meanwhile, in the Vale, Rhaenyra Targaryen is getting thoroughly yelled at for not opting out. She went flying around on Sheep Stealer looking for Baela, and Lady Jane Arryn catches her. And just to make a point about how serious things are in the Vale, Lady Jane pushes some random guy out the moon door right in front of her.
The next time you try me will be your last. Jane Arryn is not playing games. Rhaenyra is breaking protocol, exposing their defensive position, and acting entirely on emotion. Jane had to reestablish boundaries in the most dramatic way possible.
Establishing boundaries via a 600-foot drop. So effective. And then we get the final sequence. Olenn of Hull and Baela share this incredibly weird, tension-filled step-sibling kiss, which we absolutely need to analyze later because Targaryen family trees are just circles.
Literally circles.
Then Aelin tells Corlys to cut Rhaenyra some slack. Corlys finally decides to rally his men and head back to King's Landing to act as hand to the queen. And right as he's giving his big rallying speech, he gets jumped.
Yes, he does.
Bold John Roxton and Hightower forces ambush him on the docks, and the screen cuts to black.
Ormond Hightower strikes again, taking the Sea Snake, the only competent naval commander the Blacks have, off the board before he can reinforce the capital. It's a brilliant, disruptive move that completely shifts the balance of power.
I couldn't breathe. Which means it is the perfect time to transition to segment 1, the small council. Babes, we are pulling up our chairs to the big marble table with the little stone balls. We are advising the realm, let's debate. First up on the agenda, the smartest decision made this week.
Hands down, it's Gawain Hightower noticing the fake Baratheon assassins. Absolutely. In a world where everyone is blinded by their own ego, prophecy, or grand administrative schemes, Gawain is actually paying attention to the granular details of reality. He remembered what real Baratheon men look like. He clocked the behavioral anomalies of the assassins, and he acted decisively without hesitation. He saved his uncle's life and secured the Greens' leadership in the South. Unsung hero of the week.
I honor his situational awareness, I really do. But I might argue that Aegon deciding to just leave for Essos is the smartest long-term play.
It's definitely up there.
He's avoiding the Dragonfire entirely. He recognized he was a pawn and took himself off the board. But okay, let's move to the worst political move. And honestly, we're spoiled for choice today.
We really are. But I have to go with Daemon publicly assaulting Ulf the White in Flea Bottom. As I mentioned during the HR breakdown, you do not alienate your most powerful assets. Daemon humiliated a man who controls a massive dragon in front of the exact small folk whose loyalty the crown is currently losing. It was impulsive, petty, and strategically disastrous. You cannot rule through fear when your subordinates have bigger weapons than you do.
See, I agree that was terrible management, but I think Rhaenyra sending Alicent to assassinate Aemond is worse.
You do?
Yes, it's not just tactically stupid, as you pointed out with the logistics, but it completely destroys any shred of moral high ground Rhaenyra had left. She's commanding a mother to kill her son. If the realm finds out about that, any goodwill Rhaenyra has as the righteous, humane queen evaporates instantly. It makes her look exactly like Maegor the Cruel.
That's a fair point regarding her public image. Okay, who gave the best advice this week?
So this one is easy. Aelin of Hull. When Corlys is complaining about Rhaenyra moving too slowly and not legitimizing Aelin and Adam right away, Aelin just looks at his dad and says, "And how many years did it take you to do the same?" He completely humbled the great sea snake. He's essentially telling him, don't rush the queen when you ignored your own bastard sons for decades just to protect your pride. It was a reality check Corlys desperately needed to hear.
Spot on. Aelin is quickly becoming the most grounded, rational person in the Velaryon camp, finally, who absolutely should not be trusted.
Mariah, the white worm. Rhaenyra explicitly asked her if she had any suspicions that Helena was pregnant, and Mysaria lied right to her face.
Lied right to her face.
She said no, even though we literally saw her and Alicent discussing the pregnancy last week. She's actively keeping secrets from her queen, she's hoarding information to protect herself, and she is entirely out for her own survival at the expense of the crown.
Exactly. I'll take it a step further. Mysaria's intelligence network is also failing miserably. She didn't know about the Gold Cloak resignations until it was too late, and she didn't know about the Baratheon assassins Rhaenyra sent. She's losing her grip on the streets, so she's compensating by playing manipulative psychological games with Rhaenyra. Do not trust the Mistress of Whisperers.
Never trust the Mistress of Whisperers. Okay, babes, refill your drinks, because it is time for segment 2, the Dragon Draft.
Let's do it.
We are building our Fantasy Westeros teams to win the Iron Throne. We need a ruler, a dragon rider, a strategist, a knight, and a wild card. My analytical bestie, you have the first pick for ruler.
Thank you. I'm choosing Aegon.
Are you out of your mind? He's a terrible person. He is literally fleeing to Essos as we speak.
Exactly. A good ruler knows their limitations. Aegon has achieved total self-awareness. He listened to his advisors, realized he was vastly out of his depth, and delegated his survival. If I put him on the throne, he will just sit there, drink Arbor Gold, agree that he's terrible, and let my strategist run the country efficiently. He is the ultimate low-maintenance figurehead who won't get in the way of competent administration.
That is the most cynical, bureaucratic thing I have ever heard. I am picking Rhaenyra for my ruler.
Of course you are.
Yes, she's struggling right now. Yes, she's making bad PR decisions, but she has the legitimate claim she actually cares about the history and the prophecy. And if I am on her team, I will just give her a hug, validate her feelings, and tell her she's doing great, which is clearly all she needs to regain her confidence.
Good luck validating her feelings when the small folk riot and burn the Red Keep down.
Hey.
My dragon rider is Baela.
Oh, I'm so mad. I wanted Baela.
She is the only one actually doing the work. Daemon is brooding in the Riverlands, Rhaenyra is sulking on a bleeding throne, the dragonseeds are complaining about hot pies, and Baela is out there flying combat patrols on Moondancer until she literally falls asleep in her chair. She is dedicated, she is competent, and she doesn't whine. She's my absolute MVP.
Fine. If you take Baela, I am taking Ulf the White.
Ulf. Seriously.
Yes, he's messy. Yes, he lacks corporate discipline, but Silverwing is a massive, ancient dragon, and Ulf has the love of the common people. He's a man of the streets. I'll just buy him a brewery in King's Landing, and he'll be loyal to me forever.
Yeah.
Who's your strategist?
Ormond Hightower.
Ooh, the pomander sniffer. He throws up at the sight of blood.
Say what you want about his personality or his weak stomach, the man gets results. He is miles away in Tumbleton, and he is successfully orchestrating the complete economic collapse of King's Landing's infrastructure. He's turning the small folk against the queen without firing an arrow. He's dismantling the city watch by cutting off their pay, and he just captured the sea snake. He is playing 4D geopolitical chess while everyone else is playing checkers in the mud.
I hate that you're right about his results. Okay, for my strategist, I am taking Aelin of Hull. He's calm, he reads the room perfectly, and he knows how to manage toxic egos like Corlys. He's the emotional intelligence my team needs. For my knight, I am claiming Gwaine Hightower. He has great hair, he's incredibly observant, and he actually protected his horrible uncle when the assassins attacked. He has actual honor and situational awareness.
I will take bold John Roxon for my knight. He doesn't ask questions, he doesn't need a communication seminar, he just swings that Valyrian steel sword, Orphan Maker. He gets the job done brutally and efficiently. Now, the most important category, the wild card.
I am taking Alice Rivers. She has a haunted castle, she has 5 warm dragon eggs, she can literally see the future, and she will casually murder anyone who interrupts her date night. She is the ultimate spooky wild card. She could build a whole new magical empire by herself.
That is a terrifying pick. My wild card is Larys Strong.
Oh, God.
The man is like a short seller in a market crash. He doesn't build anything, he doesn't have loyalties or morals, but he makes his fortune by betting against the stability of the current regime. He survives every single administration change. He's currently smuggling a king out of the country. I want him on my side when the nuclear winter hits, because he will know exactly which tunnels to hide in.
Our teams are so incredibly toxic. I love it. Let's move into segment 3, the Iron Throne power rankings. We need to rank the major players based on political influence, strategic thinking, leadership, survival instincts, and actual chances of sitting on the throne.
Let's start with who is rising. I have to put Alicent Hightower at the top of the rising list. Despite almost getting assassinated at lunch, his macro-level strategy is flawless. He is successfully turning the narrative against Rhaenyra without even having to use a dragon. He's capturing key enemy assets like Corlys. He is peaking right now.
I agree. Ormond is rising. But you know who is falling? Rhaenyra. It pains me to say it because I want her to succeed, but she is losing the PR war drastically. She is alienating her most powerful weapons in the dragonseeds, her council is a mess, and the Iron Throne literally made her bleed. The realm, both magically and practically, is rejecting her leadership style.
She is definitely falling. But she isn't plummeting. The person who is plummeting is Daemon.
Definitely Daemon.
He has zero emotional regulation left. He has alienated the Gold Cloaks, which was his only real institutional power base in the city. He's alienated the new Dragon Riders by assaulting Ulf. He's alienated Rhaenyra by constantly pushing for mass murder. He has isolated himself completely through sheer arrogance. He is a king of nothing right now.
He really has. He's just a guy with a dragon and a terrible attitude at this point. And then we have the opted-out category, Aegon. Survival instincts on 100. He looked at the power rankings, realized he was at the absolute bottom, and decided to leave the game entirely. Moving to Essos is the ultimate power move when you know you're losing.
Exactly. So if we look at the top of the rankings right now, the Greens, spearheaded by Ormond and the Hightower political machine, are weirdly in a stronger position than the Blacks, despite having fewer dragons. Strategy and logistics are currently beating raw firepower.
Which brings us to our final segment, segment 4. The Raven's Prophecy. Babes, it's time to look into our crystal balls and predict the future of this mess. What is the biggest betrayal coming next?
It has to be Hugh and Ulf turning on Rhaenyra. The writing is clearly on the wall. Hugh's wife just rejected him because she associates his new power with the destruction of their family, leaving him with nothing to lose. Ulf is feeling suffocated and physically disrespected by Daemon. Rhaenyra and Daemon have treated them like garbage, like disposable tools instead of volatile lords. When the time comes, they're going to flip to the side that actually respects them. And honestly, it will be entirely Rhaenyra and Daemon's own fault. Poor management breeds disloyalty.
I completely agree. They are practically pushing them into Ormond's arms with their elitism. Okay, who is gaining power? I think it's Alice Rivers and Aemond. They are officially off the grid. They have Harrenhal. They have the massive destructive power of Vhagar. They have unmatched spooky vibes. And now they have 5 Dreamfire Dragon Eggs. They are building a third faction right under everyone's noses, and nobody's paying attention to them.
They are definitely the dark horses of this war. Now, who is in the most danger?
Corlys Velaryon. He just got jumped by Boljon Roxton and the screen cut to black. He's an older man. He's surrounded by Hightower soldiers on a dock, and he's separated from his fleet. I am so scared for the sea snake. He finally decided to stop sulking, be a good hand to the queen, and he immediately gets punished for it.
I'd also put Alicent in the most danger category. She is being sent on a literal suicide mission to Harrenhal by a queen who no longer cares if she lives or dies. She is a pawn being marched straight into the jaws of Vhagar and a blood witch.
It's so bleak. Okay, give me your wild theory. One completely wild prediction that somehow feels possible.
My wild theory is that Larys Strong is going to successfully get Aegon to Essos, but instead of hiding, he's going to use the Iron Bank of Braavos to hire a massive mercenary army, including faceless men, to come back and wipe out both the Blacks and the Greens while they're distracted fighting each other over a starving city. He's going to initiate a hostile corporate takeover of Westeros.
Oh, that is sinister. I love it. Okay, my wild theory, and I'm obsessed with this idea, I fiercely believe that those 5 Dreamfire eggs that Alice showed Aemond are the exact eggs that eventually make their way to Daenerys Targaryen.
Wow, okay.
I know book history says Alyssa Farman stole them and sold them, but what if Alice Rivers smuggles them out to Essos? What if Alice and Aemond are the spooky, toxic great-great-grandparents of Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion? It connects the timelines perfectly.
It's a massive deviation from the established lore, but the show loves tying things back to Daenerys to reward the viewers. I wouldn't put it past them. It certainly makes that scene in Harrenhal a million times more important than just a gothic date night.
Right. Ugh, my mind is racing. There is so much to process, and my smoked old-fashioned is officially empty, which means it's time to turn it over to you, the Snark Squad. We need your opinions in the group chat.
We want to know, which character do you think made the absolute smartest move this week? Was it Gwaine identifying the assassins, Aegon fleeing to Essos, or someone else?
And which dragon would you want to ride? Would you want a massive beast like Vermithor or a speedy one like Moondancer? And be honest, would you actually put up with the smell of dragon grano, or would you be an Ormond Hightower about it and carry a pomander everywhere?
Finally, who do you think will ultimately claim the Iron Throne? Because right now, the throne itself seems to be actively rejecting the current occupant.
Let us know your thoughts. Thank you all so much for drinking and spiraling with us tonight. This show is a lot, but processing it with you babes makes the Westerosi trauma bearable. Remember to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share this with another fantasy-loving babe who needs to vent about Daemon's severe anger management issues.
We'll be back next week to break down whatever fresh disaster awaits us at the First Battle of Tumbleton.
Until then, before we go, think about this. We spend all this time talking about who deserves the throne, who has the best claim, and who is winning the PR war. But with the small folks starving in the streets, independent contractors writing weapons of mass destruction, and magic returning to Harrenhal, is the Iron Throne even the center of power anymore? Or are Rhaenyra and Aegon just fighting over a rusty chair in a burning room? Stay loyal, stay legendary, and we'll see you on the Snark side.